There was an old woman named Margaret who lived in a quiet American suburb with her big family. She had spent her entire life taking care of her children, her home, and her late husband. But ever since her husband passed away, a deep loneliness silently settled inside her heart. She smiled on the outside, but her eyes always carried a hidden sadness. Margaret's two sisters-in-law secretly disliked her for years. They thought she was too soft, too emotional, and too respected by everyone in the family. Slowly, they began poisoning the minds of her sons against her with cruel whispers. They made the boys believe that their mother was weak, dramatic, and always playing the victim. At first, Margaret didn't understand why her sons suddenly started ignoring her. Their tone became colder, their visits became shorter, and their love felt distant. She thought maybe they were stressed, maybe work was too hard, maybe life was tiring them. But deep inside, a quiet fear grew. Something was breaking inside her family. The sisters-in-law kept adding fuel to that fire. Whenever the sons visited, they planted new doubts, new lies, new reasons to blame their mother. They said Margaret complained too much, remembered the past too much, and lived in sadness. They turned every weakness of hers into a weapon. Soon, the home that once echoed with laughter became silent for Margaret. Her sons stopped asking how she was, stopped sitting with her, stopped noticing her tears. She ate her meals alone, sat on the porch alone, and spent nights staring at old photographs. Life felt heavier than ever, and she wondered how happiness slipped so far away. Every evening, Margaret sat in her rocking chair, remembering her husband. She remembered the way he held her hands when life was hard. She remembered how he made her laugh, even when she didn't want to smile. She whispered to the empty room, "If you were here, everything would be different." She tried to hide her pain, but loneliness has a way of showing itself in the eyes. The sisters-in-law watched her sadness and felt satisfaction instead of sympathy. They believed they had won some invisible battle. They didn't realize they were destroying a woman who had never harmed them. One night, Margaret walked into her quiet living room and looked at her family pictures. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she touched her husband's smiling face in the frame. She felt the weight of all her memories pressing on her heart. Her life had become a museum of moments no one cared about anymore. But Margaret was stronger than she looked. She decided she wouldn't let bitterness poison her heart. Instead of arguing or defending herself, she chose to stay gentle, loving, and steady. She believed that truth always finds its way to light. Days passed, and slowly her sons began noticing the change. They saw how their mother never complained, never fought, never spoke badly about anyone. They saw how she stayed kind even when treated unfairly, and something inside them began to shift. One afternoon, her youngest son found her quietly crying in the kitchen. It broke his heart in a way he didn't expect. He realized the lies he had believed were cruel and baseless. He hugged her for the first time in months, and Margaret's soul finally breathed. The truth eventually reached the other sons too. They saw how their aunts manipulated them for years out of jealousy and insecurity. They felt ashamed for letting their mother suffer in silence. They returned to her with apologies, love, and deep regret. Margaret forgave them without hesitation. She had been waiting for this moment, not to blame them, but to hold them again. For the first time in a long time, her home felt warm and alive. Her heart felt lighter than it had in years. Her sisters-in-law tried to stir trouble again, but it no longer worked. The sons had opened their eyes, and the old tricks failed. Margaret's quiet strength proved more powerful than anyone expected. Her kindness and patience rebuilt everything that jealousy had broken. In the end, Margaret learned that life always comes full circle. Cruelty eventually destroys itself, and truth eventually rises. Her family stood by her again, stronger and closer than ever, and Margaret finally felt the peace she had been missing for so long.